Avalonian roads are the best content for solo players in terms of fame and silver, but a lot of times players don't know where to farm, and how to farm efficiently, right? They might be using tier 4 gear and trying to do tier 8 roads, which is very inefficient. It wouldn't even work, right? So there's a lot of things you have to consider while you're farming Ava roads, right? So basically in this video, I'll be talking about the 3 tiers, tier 6, tiers 8, and tier 4, and discussing which one of those are the most profitable and most efficient. I'll be doing this by completing 10 chests in tier 4 roads first, and then 10 chests in tier 6 roads next, and then lastly 10 chests in tier 8 roads. I'll then compare the time it took to complete 10 chests at each tier, along with the amount of silver and fame earned from those chests. It's just a quick, simple little video I wanted to make just to see which tier actually is the most efficient and profitable. So yeah, let's just get into the video. Okay, I wanted to show you this before I get into the main part of the video. So this happened while I was doing tier 8 roads. I'll get into this later, but tier 8 roads are really hard to farm because of the amount of competition. But anyways, over here, I was mainly trying to escape. And these two guys, a healer and a blood moon staff, they were chasing me for a while, and I couldn't really find a way to escape. But over here, after I invised, the healer and the blood moon staff split up. So the blood moon staff was very far from the healer, right? And now I had the chance to just easily kill the staff before the healer could come back, because he went all the way the other opposite direction, right? I killed this guy pretty fast. He didn't really know how to fight without the healer. And then after I killed the blood moon staff, the healer also ran away. So yeah, that was just a little fun fight I had while farming tier 8 roads. I did think I was gonna die during this fight, but they made some stupid mistakes and separated each other, and I capitalized on that and just killed the blood moon staff. So yeah, that was a fun fight, but let's get into the video now. So let's talk about tier 4 roads first. The set I used for tier 4 was basically the Ava road set I use typically. I made a video on it, you can check it out at the top of the screen. But yeah, since I'm farming tier 4 roads, I'm using tier 5 gear, since I don't need high IP to clear tier 4 zones, right? Once I do tier 6 and tier 8 roads, I'll obviously use higher IP sets. You can tweak this build, as I said before, the hood and the boots don't really matter. Just use anything that will help you with PvE or escaping gankers. Use invis pots for gankers and poison pots for bosses. Food, you can use cabbage soup or roast pork or any other region food, doesn't really matter, but I like cabbage soup, so yeah. For tier 4 roads, I didn't actually use Brazilian portal. Most of the times Brazilian portal leads to tier 6 roads, and it might be difficult to find those tier 4 zones. So what I did was going to a blue zone and using an Ava road portal there. Blue zone portals only lead to tier 4 zones, and it's much faster when you only want to farm tier 4 zones, right? Now regarding the green chests, I'm going to try to find different chests and not just farm small green chests. You'll see many types of chests, boss chests, regular chests, and small chests. I didn't just want to farm small chests as the loot and fame aren't really that good at all. So I tried to avoid most small chests. Tier 4 PvE was the easiest to clear even though I wasn't wearing high IP gear, and I also didn't run into any gankers at all. It was mostly smooth, and I actually found a decent amount of big chests. The loot was surprisingly good, which I didn't think it would since it's tier 4. Clear speed for small green chests was about 2 minutes, 4 minutes for regular chests, and for larger chests it was about 6 minutes. Which is really fast and is the fastest out of all 3 tiers. In total, I cleared 3 boss chests, 5 regular chests, and 2 small chests, which is a good mixture of all 3 types of chests, giving us a good idea of what loot each chest can give. The fame also varies a lot by what chest you're doing. For example, a small green chest only has robot mobs plus an enchanted mob. A regular chest has robot mobs plus Avalonian mobs and a mini boss, while boss chests have robot mobs, Avalonian road mobs, enchanted Avalonian road mobs, and a main boss. So the fame is really dependent on what size chest you're farming, right? Overall, before I farmed tier 4 roads, I believed it would be the worst tier to farm, but the more I farmed, I realized tier 4 is really good in terms of fame and silver. It took me around 80 minutes to farm 10 green chests, which is really fast. I also did run into a few players and had some PvP fights as well, so that did take some time and I could have farmed much faster. I did try to farm in zones that didn't have too many portals, and I also didn't run into many guilds since I was doing tier 4. If I did see a group farming, I would just hop into another road. Tier 4 roads are pretty common, so they're not that hard to find. You just have to enter through a blue zone, and then you could find a lot of tier 4 roads. Brazilian is not really that efficient for tier roads in my opinion. Okay, so now let's talk about the final results. So in 80 minutes, I made around 2.22 million silver from 2 small chests, 3 boss, and 5 regular green chests. I got 600k from silver bags and 450 from silver tomes. The rest of the loot was from ruins and other gear loot. I didn't include the loot I got from PvP since this video is based on loot from chests, so it didn't really make much sense including PvP loot. Overall, I didn't really expect to get more than 2 million from tier 4 chests, but somehow I made a really good amount, and I didn't spend a lot of time as well. 2.2 million in 80 minutes is really good, and it's probably better than most PvE activities, if not the best. Now let's move on to the fame. So in 80 minutes, I got around 3.7 million fame credits from 10 chests. This is honestly a really good amount as well. I thought I was going to get around 2 million fame credits, but I ended up getting almost double, which is pretty crazy. Almost 4 million fame credits and 2.2 million silver in my opinion is probably the best rewards a solo player can get, especially considering I was using a pretty cheap build and farming tier 4 zones. Ultimately, I think tier 4 roads are one of the best silver and fame farms, and I would definitely give this around a 9.6, 9.7 out of 10. Now for tier 6 roads, I did use the Brazilian portal for this. It usually transports you to a tier 6 zone, so it's pretty useful when you're farming tier 6 only. The set I used was the same as tier 4 roads, but higher IP. For tier 6, you should be using tier 6 or tier 6.1 to clear efficiently. Other than that, make sure the road you're getting transported to doesn't have a lot of portals connected to it. If it does, keep going through portals until you get deep enough. Sometimes you get transported to a really good zone, but most of the times you're going to have to go a little deep just to find a good farming spot, right? Tier 6 roads were more or less what I thought they were going to be. The loot and fame was decent. I didn't get ganked at all as well. Overall, I did notice there is a lot of good spots to farm in tier 6 roads. There's a lot of zones where you can find 4 to 6 green chests and farm pretty easily. Honestly, if you're going to farm tier 6 roads, just look for the regular size or boss chests, and if there's none, keep switching roads and only do those chests. Smaller chests are overall kind of a waste, so only do those if you're having a really hard time finding other chests. Clearing green chests in tier 6 gear should be pretty efficient. I don't suggest using lower than tier 6 flat gear. You're just going to be clearing at a much slower rate, and the chance of you getting ganked is going to be much higher, right? Your priority should be clearing chests as fast as you can before anyone else comes. So for tier 6 small chests, they took me about 3 minutes to clear, and larger chest was about 4 minutes, which was surprisingly fast. For tier 4, it took me around 4 minutes to clear as well. This is probably because I was using tier 6.1 gear. If you're using tier 6 flat gear, it'll probably take you a bit longer. 3 minutes for small chest and 4 for bigger chest is pretty good. I believe I actually cleared 1 large chest in under 2 minutes as well. So the clear speed does vary a lot depending on what type of mobs are in the chest area. Obviously, if you get the Avalonian warrior or the Avalonian knight as the bosses, it'll take a bit longer. But if you get the Avalonian spell weaver, it takes a lot less time. If you're in a boss camp, it's almost always either Ava Knight or Ava Warrior, so those would take upwards of 4 minutes to clear. The one thing about Ava Knight and Ava Warrior bosses are that they are pretty difficult to clear if your IP and spec aren't high enough, so always try to wear gear that you know will be enough to clear those bosses. Especially once you get to tier 8 bosses, it becomes really difficult, so keep that in mind. And this is also another reason why you kind of need poison pots as well. Poison pots really do give you a lot of extra damage and you can clear much faster. Now, clearing any tier 6 mob with 6.1 gear should be pretty easy. I didn't run into any problems. Just make sure you don't get too low in health or your undead cape will activate, which will de-aggro the mobs. I wouldn't recommend switching to a different cape just because it saved me multiple times against gankers. And it's always nice having another invis available. If you're using 6 flat gear, you'd probably be better off using a different hood like Scholar, just for some extra damage, and the D ability on Scholar Hood is really helpful for mana and tanking hits as well. Hunter Hood is obviously good, but you only really need it if you're in a PvP scenario, so you can keep one in your inventory if you want. Now for the tier 6 road, I actually didn't clear 10 green chests. My last chest was actually a spawn chest in the Ava zone. This doesn't really affect my loot, but it does end up affecting my fame, because there's no mobs in the spawn chest area, right? So yeah, just keep that in mind. In total, I did clear 5 regular chests, 1 boss chest, 3 small chests, and as I mentioned, 1 spawn chest. It was harder to find boss chests in tier 6, but I did find a decent amount of regular chests. I probably shouldn't have taken the spawn chest, but no one was there, so I kinda had to take it. As I said, it didn't really affect my loot. I didn't get extremely lucky, nor did I get extremely unlucky. The only thing it affected was my fame. So now let's talk about the final results for tier 6 roads. In 50 minutes I completed 10 chests with an overall silver total of 1.8 million and 4 million fame. I made around 220k from tomes and around 300k silver from the loot bags. So the fame was probably a bit higher if I didn't take the spawn chest. Instead, if I did a regular chest, my fame could probably be around 4.5 million and the silver would be more or less the same. Comparing this to tier 4 roads, I actually did less boss chests in tier 6 roads. This could be because of various reasons like my luck or the higher rarity of chests in tier 6 roads. I also did more small chests and a spawn chest. It also took me much longer to do 10 tier 4 chests. It took me around 30 more minutes, which is a decent amount of time. So obviously if I farmed for 30 more minutes, I would have earned much more silver and fame. I'd probably say I would earn around 1 million more silver and maybe around 2 million more fame. Also, I did find a random solo player farming tier 6 and he did help me on 2 chests, but that doesn't really make that big of a difference. I maybe saved 5 minutes or so. So if we're comparing the silver and fame versus time ratio, obviously tier 6 is much better, but tier 4 roads do have other advantages such as finding boss chests much easier, PvE is much easier, and your build doesn't cost that much. Ultimately, tier 6 are really good as I expected, and they're also the most accessible Ava roads as well, so I'll definitely be giving them a 9.6 out of 10 as well. So obviously tier 8 roads are the best in terms of fame and silver, so you might ask what's the point of making this video if tier 8 is the best? Obviously if you actually have a lot of hours in Ava roads you would know why, but if you're new you might be a little more naive. Tier 8 roads are indeed the best for fame and silver, but there's a couple of drawbacks that make it very unappealing. So the first thing to talk about is the set. You're going to need a really expensive axe set to farm tier 8 roads efficiently. The set I used was 6.2 and it was about 1 million silver, I believe. However, even with a 6.2 set, I had a lot of difficulty beating some of the bosses. Like I mentioned before, Ava Warrior and Ava Knight, those are really hard bosses to defeat in just tier 6.2 gear. So I actually had to stop using Hunter Hood because of this and use Scholar Cowl just so I could farm. I also started using 8.1 potion pots. It might not make a big difference, but fighting some of those bosses, you need all the damage you can get. You should probably use a set higher than 6.2 if you want to farm really efficiently, but in my opinion 6.2 is the bare minimum. The next thing to talk about is how insanely difficult it is to find a tier 8 zone. If you know how to find tier 8 zones fast without being in a guild, please let me know in the comments below. I did some research and found out tier 8 zones start with a certain set of words. I believe the words were SET as in set or something like that. The main way I used to find tier 8 zones was by looking at the portal's color. If it was gold, it was most likely a tier 8 zone, but I realized that didn't really work all the time. Honestly, I still don't know how to reliably find tier 8 zones, so if you know, just comment down below and tell me how to find them. I'll pop up a comment from Reddit. I don't know if this is true or not, but it did help me a little bit. I managed to find a couple of tier 8 zones that began with the words SET. Don't know if that's a coincidence or not. Other than that, I think tier 8 roads do connect to tier 8 black zones, but I could be wrong about that as well. Even so, I'm not really going to risk my 1 million set and travel to a tier 8 black zone, so that's not really an option for me, right? I mainly just prayed I would run into a gold portal or a zone with the name set in it. I also did use the Brazilian portal, and I could say this for sure. That portal never transports you to a tier 8 zone, so don't try testing that out. Next thing to talk about is when you actually find a tier 8 zone. So most likely a bunch of guild players will be there, since hideouts are in tier 8 roads, and these guys will definitely chase you around. And even if you find a tier 8 zone with no guild players, there's going to be a lot of competition with other smaller groups. In the beginning, as you saw, I showed you a video of me versing a team of 2 players, and I almost died back there as well, so yeah, keep that in mind as well. If you have a guild that lets you farm in tier 8 roads, consider yourself really lucky, because that's legit a gold mine. Yeah, so those are my main gripes with tier 8 roads and why I think it's really inefficient. But now let's talk about the results from 10 tier 8 chests. After searching far and wide, I finally did find a couple of decent farm zones where there was basically no players, and I was free to grind. First, let's talk about clear speed. So small chests took about 4 minutes to clear, regular chests took around 6 minutes to clear, and I don't believe I actually completed a boss chest. So these results aren't too bad, ignoring the fact I didn't even find a boss chest. 6 minutes to clear a regular tier 8 chest isn't too bad, although I believe if the bosses have a knight or warrior, it is a bit longer. If I average it out, it would be like 5.5 minutes, which isn't all that bad considering I was using a tier 6.2 set. 4 minutes for small chests is expected. The tier 8 robot mobs are pretty annoying. If you don't dodge their attacks, they either punch you away 100 meters or do half of your health. So just watch out for that. They're not too difficult to avoid, just don't pull 5 of them at the same time. Tier 8 PvE, you obviously have to focus a lot more and dodge every attack, so be mindful of that. You kind of have to lock in and can't multitask like you normally would in tier 6 or tier 4. Overall, I did 7 regular chests and 3 small chests, even though it was really hard to find tier 8 zones, let alone tier 8 regular chests. I tried not just to do small chests because this video is mainly focused on a variety of chests, not just one particular chest. And I also didn't find any boss chests, so I wanted to make up for it by doing as many regular chests as I could. Okay, before I get into the amount of time I spent for 10 chests, let's discuss the fame and silver. Obviously the silver was much greater in tier 8 than it was in tier 4 or tier 6, and the fame was significantly greater. So from 10 chests I got a total of 2.85 million silver and about 8 million fame credits. I got around 1 million from silver bags and around 700k from silver fame tomes. So obviously these are really good results for 10 chests. 8 million fame credits is basically double compared to tier 4 roads, and around 1 million more silver as well. So yeah, after 10 chests I made the most silver and fame from tier 8 chests. What a shocker. Now let's discuss the most important part, how long it took me to complete 10 chests. So it took me around 140 minutes to clear 10 tier 8 roads chests, which is around 2 hours and 20 minutes, right? And this is around 90 more minutes than tier 6 and around 1 hour more than tier 4. Once you compare the time to silver and fame, you start to realize how inefficient tier roads are. Obviously, it didn't really take me 140 minutes to farm 10 chests. Majority of the time spent was, as I said before, just searching for tier 8 zones, right? Finding a good farm zone is just really hard. Some days it'll be almost impossible if you're playing on peak hours. And even if you do, there's a lot more competition and it'll be very difficult to farm. As I said before, there's a lot of drawbacks of farming only tier 8 roads and not a lot of positives, therefore making it a really inefficient farm. I would say if you happen to run into a tier 8 zone and have a set that can farm it, you should try to do it, but don't go out of your way and only try to farm tier 8 zones. It's not worth it. Ultimately, I would give tier 8 zones a much lower ranking at 7.2 out of 10. Very good fame and silver, but a lot of drawbacks that make it really inefficient to farm. Okay, now let's compare the final results for each tier. So for tier 4, I earned 2.2 million silver and 3.7 million fame credits in 80 minutes. For tier 6, I earned 1.8 million silver and gained 4 million fame credits in 50 minutes. Lastly, for tier 8, I earned 2.85 million silver and gained almost 8 million fame credits in 140 minutes. Tier 4 roads are surprisingly efficient, offering great fame and silver for the time invested with minimal risk. They're ideal for solo players looking for fast fame with little competition. Tier 6 roads strike a good balance between fame and silver, though the mobs are tougher and there's more PvP risk, but overall they were the fastest in clearing 10 chests. Tier 8 roads offer the best fame and silver, but the danger is high and it's easy to lose everything to gankers. They are also insanely hard to find, taking 140 minutes to clear 10 chests. So as you can see, the time to clear 10 chests varies a lot per tier. Personally for me, I had the most fun farming tier 4 roads and the least fun farming tier 8 roads. But in terms of which 3 you should do, it would definitely be either tier 4 or tier 6. As I said earlier, tier 8 is very inefficient because of how hard the PvE is, how expensive your set is, and how difficult it is to find tier 8 roads. You should only focus on tier 8 roads if you have a guild that has a hideout in the roads. Other than that, I would not recommend farming tier 8 zones. Okay, now focusing on tier 4 and tier 6 roads. Honestly, I think the best option is to farm both of these. What I would do is buy a tier 6 flat set and either use Brazilian portal or a blue zone portal and start farming. I would try to mainly focus on regular chests. Boss chests are a bit difficult to find, so that's why it might be better to look for them in tier 4 zones. But honestly, just try to farm any one of those tiers. If you have lower spec, maybe prioritize tier 4 for a bit, then hop into tier 6. But you should try to avoid tier 8 altogether, because with your build, you probably can't farm it efficiently and there's going to be a bunch of gankers in those zones. I think the best way to make a lot of fame and silver is to use a cheap 6.0 flat set and farm all the regular chests in tier 4 and tier 6 roads. The build is going to be pretty cheap, so you can afford a lot of sets and it'll be very easy to profit in the long run. Moreover, it's just going to take a lot of experimenting to find out what works best for you, but I would definitely recommend trying both tier 4 and tier 6 zones. So yeah, I think tier 4 and tier 6 are really efficient in terms of fame and silver per hour for solo players. They're probably one of the best farms right now, so you should definitely take advantage of that before they're nerfed. One more thing I wanted to quickly talk about is the variance in loot. So if you look at my tier 4, tier 6 and tier 8 loot, you'll notice that the loot does have a bit of variance. So for tier 4, I got a lot of gear as my loot, but if you look at my tier 8 loot, there's barely any gear. You'll notice majority of the tier 8 loot is silver bags and tomes, and the gear is mostly high IP gear that cost a lot. While in tier 4, there's a lot of low IP gear and a much bigger loot table. I did the math and around 35% of my loot in tier 8 roads was from silver bags, while tier 4 it was around 27%. You might ask why this is important, and that's a good question. This is only really important because tier 4 will fill up your inventory much quicker than tier 8. So having more loot from silver bags could be important depending on how many chests you want to farm before you go back to your bank. Other than that, tier 6 seems to be a good middle between silver bags and gear loot. But I did get a lot less loot from tier 6 in total, so keep that in mind. Loot variance isn't that big of a deal, I just thought I would mention it if anyone was interested. But yeah, that's it for this video. It was supposed to be a little quick video, but yeah, I'll be making another video soon, hopefully on the new update. I believe the new update launches when the season ends, so that's pretty soon. The update's gonna be on the Black Zone change, so I'm definitely gonna be playing a lot of that. And yeah, I think that'll be my next video. I do have a lot of other stuff I'm doing right now, that's why I can't really make a lot of videos, so I might make another video before the update, I'll see, but I'll definitely be making a video on the Black Zone update, so watch out for that. But yeah, leave a comment if you want to share your opinion, leave a like if you liked the video, and subscribe if you haven't, and yeah, that's it for today's video.